My brothers and sisters, we live in a world where people are always chasing something, chasing wealth, chasing success, chasing happiness. But in this endless chase, we forget the most important thing, being present, truly present. Any people are waiting for a perfect moment to be grateful, to be happy, to do good. They say, when I have more money, I'll give charity. When I have time, I'll pray properly. When life is easier, I'll fix my relationship with my family. But the truth is, that moment never comes unless you make it come. This is what I call the 1% present mentality. It means being present even if it's just 1%. If you're struggling to pray, start with one prayer sincerely. If you find it hard to read the Quran, read just one verse with reflection. If you're too busy to help others, do one small act of kindness today. Aitan wants you to think, if I can't do everything, I might as well do nothing. But Allah doesn't expect perfection. He expects sincerity. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told us the most beloved deeds to Allah are those done consistently, even if they are small. Some people keep waiting for the right time to turn back to Allah. My brothers and sisters, the right time is now. Your 1% effort today could be the reason Allah opens doors for you tomorrow. Don't wait to be wealthy, to be generous. Don't wait to be problem-free to be happy. Don't wait to be perfect to start your journey to Allah. Take one step sincerely and watch how Allah takes you the rest of the way. Many people live their lives waiting for the perfect moment to do good. They tell themselves that one day, when circumstances are ideal, they will finally start praying properly, reading the Quran, giving charity, or making positive changes in their lives. But the reality is, that moment never comes unless they create it themselves. Life is never going to be completely smooth. There will always be struggles, responsibilities, and distractions. If a person keeps delaying goodness, waiting for the perfect time, they may find themselves at the end of their life having never truly turned to Allah. One of the greatest tricks of Shaitan is convincing people that they are not ready yet. He whispers, you need to be in the right mindset before you start praying. You need to be completely free of sins before you wear the hijab. You need to be financially stable before you give in charity. But this is a deception. Nobody's ever fully ready. If a person waits until they feel completely prepared, they may never begin at all. Instead, they must start where they are with whatever they have and trust that Allah will guide them the rest of the way. Think about the people who say, I'll pray properly when I have time. Right now my schedule is too busy. They don't realize that the barakah, blessing they are looking for in that time comes from salah itself. The same applies to wealth. Many say, I'll give charity when I have more money. But they don't realize that charity is what increases their sustenance. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us that charity does not decrease wealth. It purifies and multiplies it. People often assume that doing good requires a drastic, life-changing effort. They think that if they can't do something big, then it's not worth doing at all. But in reality, Allah loves small, consistent deeds. If someone cannot pray all their sunnah prayers yet, they should at least start with one. If they struggle to read the Quran daily, they should begin with just one verse. If they can't donate large amounts to charity, they should give even a small coin with sincerity. The key is to take action in the present moment instead of delaying it for a future that is not guaranteed. Many people who have passed away also had plans. They thought they had time. They thought they would eventually improve, become better Muslims, mend relationships, and seek forgiveness. But time did not wait for them. The reality is, no one is promised tomorrow. Death does not send a warning before arriving. Every single day, we wake up with an opportunity to do something good, yet many waste these chances thinking they will live long enough to get things right later. But what if later never comes? One of the most dangerous mindsets is, I will start when I feel ready. The truth is, the action itself is what brings readiness. A person who waits to feel spiritually strong before praying will never reach that strength until they start praying. A person who waits to feel generous before giving charity will never develop that generosity until they start giving. The heart changes through action, not before it. This is why the Prophet, peace be upon him, advised us to do good immediately, without delay, because the delays themselves become obstacles. There are countless stories of people who made small, sincere efforts and found that Allah opened doors for them in ways they never imagined. A person who struggles with fajr but sincerely tries, even if they miss it sometimes, will find that Allah gradually makes it easier for them. A person who starts reading just one verse of the Quran daily, even if they feel it is too little, will find that over time, their heart becomes attached to it. A person who gives in charity even when they have little will find that Allah increases their sustenance in unexpected ways. Waiting for the perfect moment is often an excuse for inaction. It gives a false sense of comfort, making people believe they have good intentions when in reality, those intentions are not leading to any real change. A good intention without action remains just a thought. If a person truly wants to improve, they must take even a small step today, not tomorrow. The world is filled with distractions, responsibilities, and struggles. If a person keeps waiting for a time when life is completely free of problems before they turn to Allah, they will be waiting forever. The key is to seek Allah in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of the struggles, in the middle of life's imperfections. That is where true sincerity lies. Many people hesitate to take action in their journey towards self-improvement because they believe their efforts are too small to matter. They convince themselves that if they cannot do something big, it is not worth doing at all. This mindset is a major obstacle in their spiritual growth and personal development. In reality, even a small effort, if done sincerely, is valuable in the sight of Allah. A person who takes even a single step forward is already in a better position than someone who does nothing. Shaitan works hard to convince people that their small actions are insignificant. He whispers, why pray if you're still struggling with sins? Why give charity if it's just a small amount? Why read one verse of the Quran if you can't finish a whole chapter? But these whispers are designed to hold people back. The reality is that every great journey begins with a small step. A person who cannot pray 5 times a day should at least start with one prayer. If they are already praying but struggling with concentration, they should focus on improving just one prayer at a time. If they find it difficult to read Quran regularly, they should begin with just one verse and reflect on its meaning. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us that the most beloved deeds to Allah are those that are done consistently, even if they are small. This is because consistency builds habits, and habits shape a person's character and relationship with Allah. A person who starts with one small good deed and maintains it will naturally be led toward greater deeds over time. A single drop of water may seem insignificant, but when it falls consistently, it can carve through stone. Many people delay doing good because they believe they must be perfect before they start. They think that if they cannot do everything, they might as well do nothing. But perfection is not required, only sincerity is. Allah does not expect people to change overnight. He does not expect them to go from struggling to being perfect believers in an instant. What He loves is effort. A person who sincerely tries, even if they fall short, is more beloved to Allah than someone who waits for the perfect moment and does nothing. Even in worldly matters, people understand the importance of starting small. A person who wants to build a strong body does not lift the heaviest weights, the heaviest. They start with light weights and gradually increase their strength. A student who wants to master a subject does not read an entire book in one sitting. They start with one chapter at a time. The same principle applies to spirituality. A person who struggles with prayer should begin with what they can manage and then build on it. A person who wants to develop a connection with the Quran should start with even one verse a day. Over time, these small actions accumulate and transform a person's heart. One of the greatest deceptions is believing that only grand gestures matter. Many people think that unless they can give large amounts in charity, their small contributions are meaningless. But Allah does not look at the size of the deed, He looks at the sincerity behind it. A single date given in charity with a pure heart may weigh on the scale than a large sum given for show. A simple smile, a kind word, a moment of patience, all these small actions can carry immense reward. Some people think that if they are inconsistent, their efforts do not count. They feel discouraged when they miss a prayer, fail to keep up with a habit. But Allah's mercy is vast. He does not expect perfection. What matters is that a person keeps returning, keeps trying, and does not give up. Even if they fall 100 times, as long as they keep getting up, they are still moving forward. A single step forward, no matter how small, is still progress. A person who begins with small steps will find that over time, those steps become part of their identity. A single act of kindness today can develop into a habit of generosity. A single moment of patience can lead to a lifestyle of calmness and wisdom. A single verse of Quran read daily can grow into a deep understanding of its message. The key is to start, even if it is just 1%. That 1% effort, done consistently, can lead to a complete transformation. Shaitan is an expert at deception. His goal is not always to make a person stop doing good altogether. Sometimes his strategy is much more subtle. He convinces people that their small deeds do not matter, that their efforts are too insignificant to make a difference. He whispers thoughts of doubt and discouragement, making them believe that unless they can do something big, their actions are worthless. This deception leads many people to abandon good deeds altogether, thinking that their small contributions are not enough. One of the ways Shaitan misguides people is by making them believe that if they are struggling in some areas of their life, their acts of worship are meaningless. He tells a person, why pray when you still commit sins? Why read Quran when you are not acting upon it? Why give charity when your intentions are not pure enough? These thoughts can paralyze a person, making them feel unworthy of Allah's mercy. But this is a dangerous trap. The truth is, nobody is perfect. If a person waits until they are completely free of sin before turning to Allah, they will wait forever. The very acts of worship they are hesitant to perform are the ones that will help them overcome their weaknesses. Shaitan also makes people compare themselves to others. He makes them feel as though their small efforts are insignificant because someone else is doing more. If a person gives a small amount in charity, he reminds them that others are giving thousands. If someone prays only the fard prayers, he whispers that others are praying extra nawafil. This comparison can make a person feel like their efforts are not enough, leading them to abandon them altogether. But Allah does not compare people to each other. He looks at sincerity. A single deed done with a pure heart may be more valuable than a large deed done without sincerity. Another trick Shaitan uses is making people feel overwhelmed. He convinces them that change is too difficult, that there are too many things to improve, and that it is better to wait for the right time. He fills their mind with excuses. You are too busy to pray properly. You are too tired to read Quran. You have too many responsibilities to focus on spirituality. This creates a cycle of procrastination where a person always plans to do better in the future but never actually starts. One of the greatest lies Shaitan tells people is that their past mistakes define them. He makes them believe that they are too sinful to turn back to Allah, that their small efforts cannot possibly erase their past. But Allah's mercy is greater than any sin. No matter how far a person has gone, even the smallest step back toward Allah is enough to open the doors of forgiveness. Shaitan also tries to make people feel discouraged when they struggle with consistency. If someone starts praying regularly but then misses a prayer, he whispers, see, you will never be consistent. Why even bother? If someone begins reading Quran daily but skips a day, he convinces them that they have failed. This discouragement often leads people to give up entirely, but the reality is setbacks are part of the journey. Allah does not expect perfection. What matters is that a person keeps trying even if they stumble along the way. One of the most powerful ways to defeat Shaitan's deception is to recognize that every small effort counts. If a person can only pray one extra rak'ah, they should do it. If they can only give a small amount in charity, they should give it. If they can only recite one verse, they should recite it. These small actions may seem insignificant, but they are seeds that grow over time. The key is to ignore the whispers that say it's not enough and instead focus on consistency. Shaitan wants people to believe that the road to Allah is too long, too difficult, and that they are too weak to make it. But the truth is, every small step taken for the sake of Allah is already a victory against him. A single prayer, a single moment of remembrance, a single act of kindness, each one is a step closer to Allah and a defeat for Shaitan. The biggest mistake a person can make is believing that their small deeds do not matter. Because in the sight of Allah, sincerity is greater than quantity, and even the smallest action can carry immense reward. Many people believe that in order to please Allah, they must perform grand acts of worship or make dramatic changes overnight. They assume that unless they can pray all their sunnah prayers, read an entire chapter of the Quran daily, or donate large sums to charity, their efforts are not valuable. But in reality, Allah values consistency over perfection. A small deed done regularly is far more beloved to Him than a large deed done once and abandoned. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught that the most beloved actions to Allah are those that are done consistently, even if they are small. This hadith is a reminder that true spiritual growth is not about doing something once in a while, but about building habits that last. When a person does something regularly, it becomes part of their identity. It shapes their character and strengthens their connection with Allah. A single drop of water may seem small, but when it falls consistently, it has the power to carve through stone. Many people struggle with maintaining consistency in their worship. They start off with enthusiasm, praying all their sunnah prayers, reading pages of the Quran, or making long du'as. But after a few days or weeks, they feel overwhelmed and stop altogether. This happens because they try to do too much at once. They set unrealistic expectations for themselves, thinking they must reach perfection immediately. But lasting change does not come from sudden bursts of energy, it comes from steady, continuous effort. Some people feel guilty when they cannot do as much as they plan. They may have intended to pray tahajjud every night, but only manage once a week. They may have aimed to read a certain amount of Quran daily, but find themselves skipping days. When this happens, Shaitan tries to discourage them, making them feel as though their efforts are not enough. He whispers, if you can't do it properly, don't do it at all. But this is a deception. Even if a person struggles to be consistent, their effort still counts. Even if they miss a day, they can always start again. What matters is that they do not give up completely. One of the reasons Allah loves consistent deeds is because they reflect sincerity. It is easy to do something once when motivation is high, but it takes true dedication to keep going even when the excitement fades. A person who prays only when they feel inspired may stop when they face hardships, but a person who prays consistently, even with small efforts, builds a strong foundation of faith that helps them through difficult times. Consistency also brings barakah. When a person does even a small good deed regularly, Allah increases its impact. A person who gives a little in charity every week may not realize how much they have given over a year. A person who learns one verse of the Quran and daily may not see immediate progress, but over time they gain deep knowledge and connection with the book of Allah. Small, consistent actions have the power to bring about great change. Another reason consistency is so important is that it protects a person's faith. Many people think that they will always feel motivated to do good, but faith naturally fluctuates. There are days when a person feels spiritually strong and days when they struggle. If they rely only on motivation, they will find themselves stopping when they no longer feel inspired. But if they have built consistent habits, they will continue even when their heart is not fully engaged. This is why the righteous scholars and pious people always emphasize the importance of maintaining small acts of worship even in difficult times. Some people hesitate to start small because they think their efforts are too little. They believe that if they cannot pray extra rak'ahs, read many pages of Quran, or give large amounts in charity, then their small deeds do not matter. But Allah does not look at the size of the action, He looks at the sincerity behind it. A person who recites even one ayah of the Quran daily with reflection may be more beloved to Allah than someone who reads an entire chapter without focus. A person who gives a small amount in charity with a pure heart may be more rewarded than someone who gives a large amount for recognition. A strong connection with Allah is built through daily efforts, no matter how small. A single prayer performed consistently with sincerity is better than many prayers done once and forgotten. A single moment of remembrance repeated daily is more powerful than hours of worship done once in a lifetime. The key is not to aim for perfection, but to focus on steady progress. The path to Allah is not about doing everything at once, it is about doing something every day and never giving up.